Spanish with Kat Barsic. Part 21. In the last episode, Kat Barsic made a new friend, Michelin chef Javier. They shared a few thoughts, and maybe a few secrets too.
Si yo estuviera empezando mi carrera otra vez, tal vez no lo haría todo igual.
Later, Barsic and Pepe spotted that mysterious couple again. While Barsic tried to figure out what was odd about them, we were learning the second conditional.
Y si las mariposas ricas acudieran como siempre, tendríamos campo libre para la caza.
¿Mariposas ricas? ¿Caza?
Today we dive into the third conditional. The unfulfilled past conditional.
El condicional del pasado no cumplido.
We use it to imagine how things could have been if the past had gone another way. You'll hear it a lot in this episode, and later we'll break it down. The name of this episode is
Si hubiera visto eso en una ensalada, habría salido corriendo.
If I had seen that in a salad, I would have run away. Let's continue the story of Kat Barsic, which began in episode 1 and has progressed with each new episode.
The Retiro Park greeted them like an old friend, warm and full of life. Barsic sniffed curiously, so many scents of flowers and grass. By the fountain, a small group gathered with a guitar. One young man, clearly a beginner, strummed with heart, even if a few notes went a little sideways.
Si hubiera practicado más esta pieza, la habría tocado mejor ahora.
Lo estás haciendo muy bien, amigo.
Si no hubieras fallado ese acorde antes, habría sido totalmente perfecto.
Past the fountain, rose beds bloomed in every color.
Si hubiera tenido un balcón cuando me mudé, habría plantado estas rosas enseguida.
The man who had been walking behind them sat down next to them on the bench. And, as often happens between strangers who meet for the first, and quite possibly the last time, an honest conversation began.
Se está bien aquí.
Sí, muy bien.
Estos árboles ya son como viejos amigos para mí. Siento que nos conocemos desde siempre. A veces camino por la alameda y ellos susurran con las hojas como si me saludaran. ¿Sabe? Me ofrecieron un trabajo muy bien pagado en otro país. Si hubiera aceptado aquel trabajo, mi vida sería completamente distinta. Pero lo rechacé. Si hubiera aceptado aquel otro trabajo, ahora estaría muy lejos de aquí.
Barsic and Pepe listened carefully. They could feel the man just needed someone to talk to. Maybe he was still thinking about the opportunity he didn't take. Or maybe he just felt at peace with staying where he was. Then he added,
Aquí no me siento solo.
¿Tiene familia?
Padres mayores en el pueblo. Los visito de vez en cuando. Si no me hubiera quedado cerca, los habría visto mucho menos. Y también tengo un amigo. Somos amigos desde la escuela. Pero ahora vive lejos de aquí. Es buen tipo. He vivido momentos difíciles en mi vida. Y él estuvo cerca en ese entonces. Si no hubiera sido por él, habría tenido que afrontarlos completamente solo. Si no lo hubiera tenido cerca en mis años más duros, no sé cómo habría salido adelante.
The man paused and looked down at his feet.
Sabe, joven, busque siempre amigos leales. En la vida se puede perdonar muchas cosas.
¿Y qué no se puede perdonar?
La traición.
¿Contra ti personalmente?
¿Contra cualquiera? Tengo suficiente empatía para entender cómo se siente alguien cuando lo traicionan.
Vaya, incluso un pequeño gatito lo entiende.
They talked for a long while, about life, about friendship, about how quickly the years go by. At last, it was time to say goodbye. Pepe shook the stranger's hand, and they continued on their way. Retiro Park seemed to introduce them to different lives, each with its own story, each with something to share. from those of elder age to the very young too.
¿Estás seguro de que me veo bien con esta luz? Si me hubiera maquillado como siempre, me vería mucho mejor.
Si hubieras visto la belleza de tus ojos, habrías entendido lo especial que eres.
Y si me hubiera puesto el vestido bueno, saldría más linda en las fotos.
No te preocupes, te ves genial.
Gracias. ¿Tienes hambre? Si hubiera sabido que estaríamos aquí tanto tiempo, habría traído sándwiches para los dos.
Si yo lo hubiera sabido, habría traído la mostaza. Es broma. Hay una cafetería muy buena por aquí. Podemos tomar unas tapas. Si lo hubiera sabido, habría sugerido ir a comer algo rico mucho antes.
And they set off in search of a cafe.
Si no hubiéramos venido hoy, nos habríamos perdido esta vista.
Si no subo a un bote hoy, lo lamentaré toda la semana.
Si lo hubieras dicho antes, ya estaríamos en un bote.
And so, they took a boat. While Barsic was mesmerized by the shimmering fish in the clear pond water, he suddenly heard Pepe's voice.
Barsic, estos peces no son para comer.
¿Cómo me conoce?
Mira, el Palacio de Cristal. Lo hicieron en 1887 para una exposición. ¿Y pensaban desmontarlo después?
¿De verdad iban a quitarlo de aquí?
Así es. Si lo hubieran desmontado como pensaban, hoy no estaríamos aquí admirándolo.
There was an exhibition in the botanical garden, and Barsic and Pepe of course couldn't miss it. They stepped into a glass house filled with tropical plants. Warm air, strange blossoms, filtered sunlight, and that scent of something they couldn't quite name.
¿Qué es eso?
Barsic wasn't sure what kind of plant it was, so he said nothing.
Si hubiera estudiado botánica con más ganas, sabría lo que estoy mirando. Si no hubiéramos venido y visto la calabaza transparente y la zanahoria en espiral, nunca habría creído que cosas así existían.
Si hubiera visto eso en una ensalada, habría salido corriendo.
Si no hubiéramos visto una calabaza transparente, me sorprendería mucho más al ver una fluorescente ahora.
Pepe, ¿estos son cactus?
No. ¿Son plátanos gigantes con pinchos? Si hubiera visto esto en un libro, habría pensado que era de otro planeta.
Si esos plátanos con pinchos me hubieran hablado, no me sorprendería.
They walked from exhibit to exhibit, amazed, confused, and occasionally suspicious. Barsic sniffed everything. Pepe guessed, confidently, and incorrectly.
Si me hubieran dicho que existía una uva del tamaño de un melón, no lo habría creído.
Si esto es una cebolla, no quiero ver cómo llora la gente. ¡Qué interesante! Manzana esponjosa.
¿Y esto?
¿Sandía tropical de corona semillada?
At the exit of the exhibition, they saw a colorful sign with a message for the visitors.
Pepe, ¿qué dice aquí?
Gracias por visitar la exposición Mundos Comestibles Imaginarios. ¿Por el artista botánico contemporáneo Germano Haslocas?
Espera, ¿esas frutas y verduras raras no eran de verdad?
Todo lo que han visto es pura imaginación. Si lo hubiera sabido, no habría intentado recordar sus nombres en latín.
Si hubiera sabido que era arte, no habría lamido esa sandía.
Si hubiera traído mi cuaderno de dibujo, ¿habría dibujado esos patos? Míralos, están prácticamente posando.
Si hubieras traído tu cuaderno, todavía estaríamos sentados en ese banco. y habríamos perdido la cena.
Peppa didn't object. The sun had already brushed Retiro Park in golden tones, and twilight was quietly approaching, ready to wrap the trees, the ducks, and the pond in gentle darkness. They made their way toward the hotel. Barsic, of course, thinking mostly about supper. He could already picture the steamy plate and the smile of their waiter Albert, who always knew just what they liked. Another day was gently coming to an end. Tomorrow, they would visit the real palace. A new adventure was waiting, just around the corner.
Grammar Basics.
Gramática básica.
In this episode, we'll take a closer look at the third conditional, or the unfulfilled past conditional, that popped up throughout our story.
El tercer condicional. El condicional del pasado no cumplido.
The third conditional helps us imagine how things could have been different if the past had gone another way. We use it to talk about past events that could have gone differently but didn't. If Barsic and Pepe had gone to the restaurant, they'd be halfway through dessert by now. And if they had chosen the library, they'd be deep into a good book. But instead, they came to the park.
Si hubiéramos ido al restaurante, ya habríamos comido pastel.
If we had gone to the restaurant, we would have already eaten cake. This is an unfulfilled situation from the past. They didn't go to the restaurant, so they didn't eat cake, and that's why we use the third conditional.
Si hubiéramos ido al restaurante, ya habríamos comido pastel.
Y si hubiéramos ido a la biblioteca, ya estaríamos leyendo un libro sobre gatos.
And if we had gone to the library, we'd already be reading a book about cats. However, they didn't choose the library, they're in the park today. That's why this is a third conditional sentence. It talks about something that didn't happen.
Y si hubiéramos ido a la biblioteca, ya estaríamos leyendo un libro sobre gatos.
Whether it's cake or cat books, none of it really happened. We use the third conditional to talk about something that didn't happen in the past and imagine what the result could have been. Forming the third conditional. Let's see how it works, step by step. The third conditional has two parts, the unreal past action and the result. The result can be in the simple or compound conditional, depending on what you want to say. The action that didn't happen in the past goes in the if part of the sentence. The if part always uses
Pluscuamperfecto del subjuntivo.
Then we look at the result of the action that didn't happen. If the result affects the present or future, we use the simple conditional. If the result is in the past, we use the compound conditional. Let's see how they work together.
Si hubiéramos desayunado antes de salir.
If we had eaten breakfast before leaving. But we didn't. This is the unreal past action.
Si hubiéramos desayunado.
If we had eaten breakfast.
Hubiéramos.
This word is part of a structure called
Pluscuamperfecto del subjuntivo.
This sentence has the same beginning but two endings. Let's use it to see both types of third conditional. From here, we can imagine two different kinds of results.
Si hubiéramos desayunado antes de salir, ahora tendríamos más energía.
If we had eaten breakfast before leaving, we'd have more energy now. The result is about the present, how we feel right now. That's why in the result part, we use the simple conditional, the one we already learned in earlier episodes.
Tendríamos.
Let's take a look at another sentence to compare.
Si hubiéramos desayunado antes de salir, no habríamos llegado con el estómago vacío.
If we had eaten breakfast before leaving, we wouldn't have arrived with an empty stomach. The result happened in the past, when we arrived. That's why we use the compound conditional.
Si hubiéramos desayunado antes de salir, ahora tendríamos más energía. Si hubiéramos desayunado antes de salir, no habríamos llegado con el estómago vacío.
Same past, but we can imagine different results. A result in the present uses the simple conditional, while a result in the past requires the compound conditional. To help it stick in your memory, let's take a look at another example.
Si hubiéramos corrido un poco, ya estaríamos en casa.
If we had run a little, we'd already be home by now. We imagine how things would be now if the past had been different. That's why we use the simple conditional in the result part.
Si hubiéramos corrido un poco, no habríamos perdido el autobús.
If we had run a little, we wouldn't have missed the bus. But we didn't, and we missed it. We imagine how the result in the past would have changed. Therefore, we use the compound conditional in the result part. Let's take a quick look at the tenses used in the third conditional. We've already learned the simple conditional in earlier lessons. But what about the other two?
Pluscuamperfecto de subjuntivo. Condicional compuesto.
Let's take a moment to explore each one, nice and simple, one at a time.
Pluscuamperfecto de subjuntivo.
So, how do we say things like if we had eaten breakfast?
Si hubiéramos desayunado.
If we had run.
Si hubiéramos corrido.
What is this word?
Hubiéramos.
In Spanish, it's called
Pluscuamperfecto de subjuntivo.
It's made with a special form of the auxiliary verb to have.
Haber.
In English, we just say had, but in Spanish, we conjugate the verb to match the subject.
Yo hubiera. Tú hubieras. Él, ella, usted hubiera. Nosotros, nosotras hubiéramos. Vosotros, vosotras hubierais. Ellos, ellas, ustedes hubieran.
To build the third conditional in Spanish, we also need the past participle. That's the form of the verb like eaten, gone, or rate in English. In Spanish, it's very easy to form. Verbs ending in AR. Change to
Hado. Hablar, hablado.
Verbs ending in AR or IR. Change to
Ido. Comer, comido. Vivir, vivido.
Let's use the prompts above and build a few simple sentences together. Let's try saying, if I had had breakfast. We'll start from the infinitive. To have breakfast.
Desayunar.
If I had had.
Si yo hubiera.
If I had had breakfast.
Si yo hubiera desayunado.
Well done. Let's try another sentence. If you had studied Spanish. To study Spanish.
Estudiar español.
If you had. Informal singular form.
Si hubieras.
If you had studied Spanish.
Si hubieras estudiado español.
Let's translate one more. If she had read the book. To read the book.
Leer el libro.
If she had.
Si ella hubiera.
If she had read the book.
Si ella hubiera leído el libro.
Let's do the last one. If they had arrived on time. To arrive on time.
Llegar a tiempo.
If they had.
Si ellos hubieran.
If they had arrived on time.
Si ellos hubieran llegado a tiempo.
We've done a few together, now it's your turn. How would you translate the following phrases? If we had left earlier. To leave.
Salir.
This verb ends in IR, so its past participle is formed with ado.
Salido.
Adding a helping verb in the past subjunctive.
Hubiéramos. Si nosotros hubiéramos salido más temprano.
And before we move on to the next grammar point, let's try translating this sentence. If they had taken the right street. To take.
Tomar.
This verb ends in AR, so its past participle is formed with ado.
Tomado.
Adding a helping verb in the past subjunctive.
Hubieran. Si ellos hubieran tomado la calle correcta.
Now that we've covered,
Pluscuamperfecto de subjuntivo.
let's check out the compound conditional.
Condicional compuesto.
Let's take a closer look at the result part of this sentence.
Si hubiéramos corrido un poco, no habríamos perdido el autobús.
Here in the result part, we're using the compound conditional.
Condicional compuesto.
We wouldn't have missed.
No habríamos perdido.
We use the compound conditional to imagine something that could have happened in the past, but didn't. Here we didn't run, and we missed the bus. It's made of two parts. The auxiliary verb to have in the simple conditional is the first part of this structure. Let's see how it changes with each subject.
Yo habría, tú habrías, él ella usted habría, nosotros nosotras habríamos, vosotros vosotras habríais, ellos ellas ustedes habrían.
Plus the past participle, like.
Perdido, comido, salido, tomado, estudiado.
When you put them together, you get phrases like you would have left,
Habrías salido.
I would have eaten,
Habría comido.
they would have studied,
Habrían estudiado.
she would have taken.
Ella habría tomado.
Now with the help of the prompts above, let's practice the compound conditional. We will build a few simple phrases, just to make the structure feel automatic. Just take the verb in brackets and turn it into the right form. Ready? Let's go. You would have worked. Singular informal you.
Tú habrías trabajado.
She would have cleaned.
Ella habría limpiado.
We would have cooked. Masculine plural form.
Nosotros habríamos cocinado.
They would have danced. Feminine plural form.
Ellas habrían bailado.
He would have received.
Él habría recibido.
She would have decided.
Ella habría decidido.
We would have shared. Feminine plural form.
Nosotras habríamos compartido.
You would have painted. Masculine informal plural form.
Vosotros habríais pintado.
I would have answered.
Yo habría respondido.
So, to sum it all up, the third conditional helps us imagine how things could have gone differently in the past. The short formula is,
Si alguien hubiera hecho algo, alguien haría o habría hecho algo.
If someone had done something, someone would do or would have done something. The if part
Si alguien hubiera hecho algo.
always uses
Pluscuamperfecto de subjuntivo.
the result part changes depending on when the result happens, now or in the past. If the result affects the present, we use the simple conditional.
Alguien haría algo.
If the result is in the past, we use the compound conditional.
Alguien habría hecho algo.
Let's take a look at a few more examples, just to make everything stick.
Si Barsik se hubiera acostado más temprano, no tendría tanto sueño ahora.
If Barsik had gone to bed earlier, he wouldn't be so sleepy now. Barsik could have gone to bed early but didn't, so we use the third conditional. This is an unfulfilled situation from the past. The result is in the present, so we use the simple conditional.
No tendría. Si Barsik se hubiera acostado más temprano, no tendría tanto sueño ahora.
Let's take a look at another sentence. Barsik took a photo of Pepe, but it turned out a little blurry.
Si Pepe no se hubiera movido, la foto habría salido perfecta.
If Pepe hadn't moved, the photo would have turned out perfect. This is an unfulfilled situation from the past. Pepe could have stayed still, but he didn't, so we use the third conditional.
Si Pepe no se hubiera movido.
The result, the photo turning out perfect, is something that could have happened in the past, but didn't.
Si Pepe no se hubiera movido, la foto habría salido perfecta.
Well, maybe next time, Barsik.
Hice lo mejor que pude.
He did his best.
Si Barsik se hubiera graduado de la escuela de cocina, ya sería un chef Michelin.
If Barsik had graduated from culinary school, he'd already be a Michelin chef. The condition, graduating, didn't happen in the past.
Si se hubiera graduado.
But the result affects the present, being a chef now. That's why we use the simple conditional in the result clause.
Sería.
Si Barsik se hubiera graduado de la escuela de cocina, ya sería un chef Michelin. Si Barsik hubiera sabido cómo, habría hecho crecer un árbol del dinero.
If Barsik had known how, he would have grown a money tree. This time, both the condition and the result are in the past, and neither happened. That's why in the result part, we use the compound conditional.
Habría hecho crecer. Si Barsik hubiera sabido cómo, habría hecho crecer un árbol del dinero.
And as for Barsik? Well, he still thinks it's worth a try next spring. Let's take a look at similar examples in our cartoon.
Si hubiera practicado más esta pieza, la habría tocado mejor ahora.
If I had practiced this piece more, I would have played it better now. We're talking about a past action and a past result, how he played. If we use the simple conditional,
Tocaría.
it would sound like he's still playing.
Si hubiera practicado más esta pieza, la tocaría mejor ahora.
If I had practiced this piece more, I would play it better now. Let's take a look at more examples.
Si me hubiera maquillado como siempre, me vería mucho mejor.
If I had done my makeup, like always, I'd look much better. This is another unfulfilled situation. She could have done her makeup as usual, but she didn't. The action is in the past, but the result, looking better, would show now. That's why we use the third conditional with the simple conditional.
Si me hubiera maquillado como siempre, me vería mucho mejor.
Si hubiera aceptado aquel otro trabajo, ahora estaría muy lejos de aquí.
If I had accepted that other job, I would be very far from here now. This is an unfulfilled situation.
Si hubiera aceptado,
He could have accepted that other job, but he didn't. The action, accepting the job, is in the past, but the result, being far away, would affect the present. That's why we use the third conditional with the simple conditional in the result part.
estaría. Si hubiera aceptado aquel otro trabajo, ahora estaría muy lejos de aquí.
Si no hubiéramos venido hoy, nos habríamos perdido esta vista.
If we hadn't come here today, we would have missed this view. Even if they are admiring the lake now, the idea focuses on what would have happened if they hadn't come. And that missing it is something that would have been true in the past the moment they arrived or didn't.
Nos habríamos perdido.
Most of the time, Spanish and English work almost exactly the same for the third conditional. If we hadn't come here today, we would have missed this view.
Si no hubiéramos venido hoy, nos habríamos perdido esta vista. Si hubiera estudiado botánica con más ganas, sabría lo que estoy mirando.
If I had studied botany more diligently at school, I'd know what I'm looking at.
Si hubiera estudiado,
This is an unfulfilled situation. Pepe could have studied botany more enthusiastically, but he didn't. The action, studying, is in the past, but the result, knowing what he's looking at, affects the present. That's why we use the third conditional, the simple conditional in the result clause.
si me hubieran dicho que existía una uva del tamaño de un melón, no lo habría creído.
If someone had told me a grape the size of a melon exists, I wouldn't have believed it.
Si me hubieran dicho,
Pepe talks about something that didn't happen. No one told him about a giant grape and how he would have reacted back then. Here, both the condition and the result are about the past. The condition didn't happen, and neither did the result.
no lo habría creído.
That's why we use the third conditional with a compound conditional in the result part.
Si me hubieran dicho que existía una uva del tamaño de un melón, no lo habría creído.
Before we continue with grammar, let's take a quick vocabulary break from our cartoon. Nuts and bolts. Bartek says he knows everything. But in Spanish, you've got to be a little more specific than that. In Spanish, there are two ways to say to know.
Saber y conocer.
If you're talking about knowing facts, skills, or how to do something, the verb is
Saber.
think of it as knowing stuff. If you know a person or a place, like a friend or a city, you use
Conocer.
think of it as being familiar with. So if you say,
Sé París.
it wouldn't make much sense in Spanish. To say that you know Paris, that you've been there, we say.
Conozco París.
And here's one more tip to remember. In English, we just say, I know someone, no preposition needed. But in Spanish, when you know a person, you need the preposition a, always. I know Pepe, he's my best friend.
Conozco a Pepe. Es mi mejor amigo.
That little a is important when you're talking about people. There's one exception though. When the person is shown with a personal pronoun, like
Me, te, nos.
then you don't need the preposition a.
Mis amigos me conocen perfectamente.
My friends know me perfectly. Now let's take a look at how these two verbs show up in our cartoon.
Si hubiera estudiado botánica con más ganas, sabría lo que estoy mirando.
If I had studied botany more diligently at school, I'd know what I'm looking at.
Si hubiera estudiado botánica con más ganas, sabría lo que estoy mirando.
Si hubiera sabido que era arte, no habría lamido esa sandía.
If I had known this was art, I wouldn't have licked that watermelon.
Si hubiera sabido que era arte, no habría lamido esa sandía. ¿Cómo me conoce?
How well he knows me.
¿Cómo me conoce?
And we'll move on to exercises to help reinforce the topic. Our task is to place the verb in brackets in its correct form. As an extra challenge, think about this. Is the unfulfilled action followed by a result in the past or in the present or future? That will help you choose the right tense, simple conditional or compound conditional. Let's go. If I had studied medicine, I would work in a hospital now. We're imagining something that didn't happen in the past, studying medicine. But the result is happening now, working in a hospital. That's why we use past perfect subjunctive and simple conditional.
Si yo hubiera estudiado medicina, ahora trabajaría en un hospital.
Great job. Let's continue with the next sentence. If they had arrived earlier, they would have seen the whole concert. The past action and its result both belong to the past. That's why we use past perfect subjunctive and compound conditional.
Si ellos hubieran llegado antes, habrían visto todo el concierto.
If we had taken the earlier bus, we would be home by now. We're imagining a past choice, not taking that earlier bus. But the result is happening now, being at home. That's why we use past perfect subjunctive and simple conditional.
Si nosotros hubiéramos tomado el autobús anterior, ahora estaríamos en casa.
If she had brought her umbrella, she wouldn't have gotten wet. Both the action and the result are in the past. She didn't bring it and she got wet. That's why we use past perfect subjunctive and compound conditional.
Si ella hubiera traído su paraguas, no se habría mojado.
If you had called me earlier, I would help you now. The call didn't happen in the past, but the help would be happening now. So we use past perfect subjunctive plus simple conditional.
Si tú me hubieras llamado antes, ahora te ayudaría.
If you had warned me, I wouldn't have made that mistake. Here, both the warning and the mistake are in the past. So we use past perfect subjunctive plus compound conditional.
Si tú me hubieras avisado, no habría cometido ese error.
If we had reserved a table, we would be eating already. They didn't reserve the table before, but the result would be happening now. So we use past perfect subjunctive plus simple conditional.
Si nosotros hubiéramos reservado una mesa, ya comeríamos.
If you had told me the truth, I would trust you more now. The truth wasn't told in the past, but it affects the trust today. So we use past perfect subjunctive plus simple conditional.
Si tú me hubieras dicho la verdad, ahora confiaría más en ti.
If they had seen this sign, they wouldn't have gotten lost. Both the sign and getting lost are moments from the past. So we use past perfect subjunctive plus compound conditional.
Si ellos hubieran visto el cartel, no se habrían perdido.
If she had worn comfortable shoes, she would walk easier now. The shoes weren't used in the past, but walking is happening now. So we use past perfect subjunctive plus simple conditional.
Si ella hubiera usado zapatos cómodos, ahora caminaría mejor.
If she had saved more money, she would travel around the world now. The saving didn't happen in the past, but the traveling would happen now. So we use past perfect subjunctive plus simple conditional.
Si ella hubiera ahorrado más dinero, ahora viajaría por el mundo.
Well done.
Bien hecho.
And we have reached the final part of the video.
Y eso es todo por hoy.
And this is all for today. Please leave your thoughts and questions in comments. Barsic will respond to them all. If you'd like to send a sausage for Barsic or a coffee for Pepe, you'll find the link below this video.
Muchas gracias. Me gustan las salchichas.
Muchas gracias.
They're also waiting for you in episode 22. Join Barsic on his adventures and learn Spanish as you go.
Claro.
If you'd like to support Barsic, please subscribe to his channel and hit the like button on his videos. He is sending you kisses.
Hasta la vista. Besos.